Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans. Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is brought to you by the 3900 block of magazine, including Sotra, fine decorative items for the home, including wonderful bedding and stock sheeting. Also Elysian, designs from the country of Turkey, clothing, shoes, and other fabulous personal accessories. And Julian Mack Fine Art, with some of the finest pieces from around the country. Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and we're getting to that time of year where all the sports are combining, and I can't wait for this show. We'll get into that later, but hey, they're down to two. That's right, the NFL, which started way back in training camp in July, preseason in August, and the season starts, of course, after Labor Day. Now it's finally here, the Super Bowl. It's got two teams. To me, this is probably as good a Super Bowl as you could have imagined. It's a replay of the Super Bowl just 4 years ago. That's right, when San Francisco 49ers are going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. And, man, Kansas City is on a roll. Let's start with the Niners, though. They were down 24-7 in this game at halftime. The Lions were just doing it and putting a number on them. But look at this. The Niners came back and they scored 17 in the third quarter alone. It was tied at 24, and it was all over but the crying after that. They ended up winning it 34-31. They took a 34-24 lead. That means they outscored them 27-0 going into that. So that's impressive. And then they got a late touchdown to make it closer for those that care about the line and things like that. Billy, I keep calling him, that's his uncle. Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel were huge in this game, but that guy right there showed he is not scared of anything. He's played now in 5 playoff games in just 2 years, and he's 4-1. Give the man his due. He can play football, even though he was the last pick of the draft. By the way, this Niner team lost to the same Chief team, and they were the ones that lost the lead. Who knows? This may be the year they turn around. But the Chiefs, well, that game wasn't pretty. But that guy right there got it done, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. They did it together. They're a team. He played well in that game. Mahomes, he just does what he does, man. He is playoff caliber superstar. This guy didn't do a whole lot during the regular season. I know fantasy owners were a little upset, but this guy in the playoffs is magic. So it's going to be there. This is the Chiefs' 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. That was their 6th straight AFC Championship game. And let's look at some superlatives here. Andy Reid, he's going in his 5th Super Bowl. That's right. Only Shula and Belichick have been in more. And if Andy Reid wins, this would make him 3-2. He had that one with the Eagles. Remember, they lost to the Patriots. But also, how about this? Do not bet against Mahomes in the playoff when he's an underdog. And guess what? He's an underdog again in the Super Bowl by 1.5 today. But he did against the Eagles when they won. And, of course, these last 2 games, he's been an underdog going into the games against the Bills and, of course, this weekend against the Ravens. So it's a smaller underdog in the Super Bowl, but that probably go down to Pickett by the time the game starts. How about the Niners, man? They're going for their 6th Super Bowl victory. That's right. They're going to try to go with the Steelers, who got those 6 victories in 8 appearances, and this will be the 8th appearance for the Niners. They'll have the same 6 out of 8 if they win, and the Patriots, of course, or 6 out of 11. And Will's Dallas Cowboys have 5, but it's been a long, long time. Hey, going forward, we'll see. It's going to be fun. How about the Senior Bowl? That's this weekend. You got Michael Pratt, the star from the Tulane Green Wave quarterback is playing. Jaquan Jackson, wide receiver, and LSU's got a couple linemen in there. Charles Turner and Jordan Jefferson moving forward. How about the Pels? It's their 3rd loss in a row. They blew an 11-point lead in the 4th quarter last night. They were up 15 during the game, kind of led the entire way. And then the Celtics, who started, by the way, their season 20-0 at home. They're the best record in the NBA right now. And the Pels had them going, and then they end up falling at the end of the game, which they've done often. And Celtics shot 75% from 3 in the fourth. They got scored 37-25. Tomorrow they'll try to pick it back up at Houston. LSU's women, it's struggling right now. It's 2 in a row. They're the number 9 team in the country, but that South Carolina game was epic. They led most of the way as well. South Carolina flexed and came back. You saw LSU had the lead at the half. They lose 76-70. And then last night, though, they go on the road to a tough Mississippi State team and lose again. That's 2 losses in a row for Kim Mulkey's girls. They got to turn that around. The LSU men and the LSU, the Tulane men have had some tough losses these past couple weeks. Hopefully they'll all turn around. UNO as well. Yannick Sinner, he wins the Australian Open. It's first major that he's ever won. He beat Novak Djokovic in the semis, and that's Daniel Medvedev right there. How about this? Medvedev was up 2-0 in this, and he ends up losing. That's 3 sets go to Sinner to finish it off. And like I said, it's his first major, but Medvedev is the only player in history now to lose 2 major finals, that is, after being up 2-0 in the set. So that's not a stat you want to have on your name. By the way, speaking of tennis, we have Welsh Hotard today from LSU. I can't wait for that. Also, I can't wait for John Brady, the former LSU basketball coach, who's now calling the games. We're going to talk LSU basketball, and Brock Kantrow is coming with them. We're going to get into that as well. And don't forget, we also have T.O. Banks, the great outfielder for the Tulane Green Wave, who's the American Athletic Conference preseason player of the year, and that's coming up next. But next week is our baseball extravaganza. Defending national champion Jay Johnson, who's also the national coach of the year. He's coming in. Also, Tulane coach. That's right, Tulane right there. Jay Ullman's coming, and along with Blake Dean from UNO. So this is going to be a great 2 weeks. Stay tuned. Next, Primetime Sports.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. And hey, the Super Bowl is around the corner, but we're going to all the other sports for today. We got some baseball for you. We got some basketball guests, and we're going to wrap it up with LSU tennis. Last week we had Tulane's tennis coach Mark Boris, but I can't wait to talk to one of LSU's top players, Welsh Hotard. But right now, we have the American Athletic Conference preseason Player of the Year in baseball. That's right. I went to a couple of games last year. He was pitching in one of them, and I'm like, wait, I thought this guy was a hitter. No, he's a big-time hitter. Outfielder, plays all over the place. His name is T.O. Banks. He's got a superstar name. He's got a superstar athletic ability on the field. Welcome. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Thank you for having me.
So good to have you. Well, let's start right there, because you obviously did both growing up. A lot of people, in Little League, we pitch, we, play all over the field.
Yep.
But you kept it going into college, and that's very rare, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is rare, but I think it's more of just, it's hard on your body.
Yeah.
And when you get to college, you kind of got to pick one, or people nowadays make it where you got to pick one or do the other.
Younger, what did you prefer?
I liked hitting, but I also liked pitching.
You like both?
I like both. Yep.
So, obviously last year, I know you had a slower start, right? But you got on fire, and you guys got into the tournament, and the season didn't go as you wanted. You went on the road and played a lot of road games to start the season against some powerhouse type teams. And then the record went down, but then you got to the American Athletic Conference tournament in Clearwater, and you guys ran the table just about and won the conference championship.
Yeah.
There's the ring from that. What was that like, man?
I think it was more rewarding. Throughout the beginning of the year, started off bad. We never really found it, throughout the middle of the year. Started picking up a little bit towards the end, played some games. Then it kind of just went back down. We never really found it, and then we kind of went into the tournament just what do we got to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Why not us? That was kind of the motto we went by, and then if anything, it was more rewarding for the team, especially for the older guys, last year guys. Couldn't have asked for anything else.
It was a magical week. You kept knocking off these teams that are so-called, the powers of the conference, and I'm like, oh my God! Then all of a sudden, momentum hits, right?
Yep.
And then you're like, why not us?
Yep.
Let's talk about this. Before I want to get into more of the baseball, because this season coming up, It's going to be a special one. It's obviously Jay Ullman's second year, but you played some football in high school.
Yeah, I did.
Permian High School.
Yes, sir.
Which obviously, if people watch any TV and movies, that was the inspiration, right, for the movie Friday Night Lights with Billy Bob Thornton. Am I wrong or right on that?
I do actually not know.
Well, they were in Permian jerseys.
Yes,
I know that.
yes.
So I mean, you from Odessa, Texas?
Yes, I went to that school.
And
Yep.
I mean, y'all haven't talked about that. I know this is way before you, right? Wasn't this like?
Oh yeah, I mean it was way earlier.
So y'all never talked about that being the inspiration? I thought that would be
No.
a banner on the school.
No, I mean
Have y'all heard that though, or no? I'm curious.
I don't think I have. I just remember like smaller team, like that's kind of what they went by. Smaller team, fast, hard. That's
Right.
kind of what the Permian went by.
So were you ever thinking about college football?
I mean, a little bit, and then as I started getting scouted more my junior year, it was kind of, I didn't play my senior year of high school, which I look back and I don't regret it. Could have not, but I'm in a good spot right now.
So you knew after your junior year that baseball was going to be your future, though?
Yes, sir.
So let me just say this. I did my research. I know Permian's got at least 6 state titles in football,
Yeah.
so they might have inspiration from somewhere, and I would imagine that's it. Unless there's another Permian in Texas I don't know about. But when did you realize, hey, I could be a big-time college baseball player as opposed to just a really good high school player?
It's a good question. When I was younger, I was always kind of, I don't know how to say it, the more powerful player, kind of stronger than a lot of kids
Sure.
at that age, I guess, but still wasn't clicking, and then go through puberty or whatever, and then I guess in high school, kind of younger, like freshman, sophomore, I had the skills, I guess, and then kind of junior, senior year, I played some travel ball in the summer, and that's when I started getting recruited, and then I went from there and was like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
So when you got recruited, I know you obviously looked at probably a lot of schools. Did you come down? Had you been to New Orleans before you picked Tulane? You've
No.
Never been. So what
First
was
time.
the pitch? I know it was the previous coach, right? What was Travis's pitch to you to come down to Tulane?
Yeah, I mean, so it was during football season, and I mean, Permian's big on football, so I wasn't able to really take any visits, and then we had a bye week, and they had availability for me, and I came down, and me and my parents ended up loving it. Kind of made my decision 3 days later that I wanted to come here.
Were you interested in any of the Texas schools? Did you know you want to get out of state? What schools were you looking at before?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Texas Tech, talked to Missouri a little bit, UCLA a little bit. I mean, I didn't really have a, how do I put it? I didn't really have a school in mind that I wanted to go to. Just took my visit here, loved it, loved the coaches here, and then me and my family made a decision to come here.
Well, as a guy that works on a lot of games in the Big 12 Conference, I'm gonna tell you, New Orleans is a hell of a lot more fun than Lubbock. Okay, so good choice on that one.
Yeah.
But tell me now, this is your third or fourth year?
Third year.
Your third year in New Orleans. What was it like when you first got here and you saw the difference between coming from Odessa, Texas? What was that kind of, eye-opening experience like? And then what do you think of it now?
Yeah, I mean, when I first came here, I come from West Texas, so it's smaller. Things were a little different to the city. I have some friends on team that are from New Orleans, and I tell them every time, I'm like, how do y'all live here? That was first got here, and then as I lived here longer, it's kind of just it's grown on me. It's different, but you got to accept the different, and the city will love you.
So the New Orleans, that is true. The New Orleans guys kind of were showing you the way.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine, I just thought growing up here myself, and I left for 30 years, but growing up here, and then I started going to other cities and telling people what growing up here is like, and they looked at me like I had horns in my head.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize the whole country didn't party like they do down here. But now that you're here for your third year, what are some of the things you love about being in this city?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different. It's different from where I come from, and probably different than any other place in the United States.
No doubt about that.
I mean, there's a lot to do, and there's good food, but I realize that to find the good food, you're not gonna find it on Google. You gotta
Good call.
You gotta find it. You gotta have someone a friend.
Ask the locals.
Yeah,
Ask the locals.
Yep.
That's it. Hey, so this program obviously got taken over, towards the end of your freshman year, I guess.
Yep.
Jay Ullman took over. What a great guy he is. What's that transition like for you? And I know in this day of the transfer portal, people are always looking to move, particularly when a coach goes. What's it been like for you since the transition, and why did you stick with Tulane?
Yeah, so I got in the portal my freshman year, and then it kind of took a while to release who the head coach was. So once they announced Ullman was the head coach, I made my decision to come back.
He was already here, right?
He was an assistant, and then once they announced he was head coach, I made my decision to come back. And I think the biggest thing coming back was, like, I knew what I was getting out of Ullman and the coaching staff, and then the relationship I had built with my already teammates, and kind of just the motto of I want to finish where I started. That was kind of like.
That's a great thing. Now that also means, now I know obviously college baseball, I think most of my viewing audience knows that you can go pro after your third season. Mm-hmm. I'm always a guy that hopes guys stay and get their degree,
yeah.
But that's just me, I'm old. But the fact is, what are your thoughts coming into this season on your future?
Yeah, I mean, I want to play pro ball.
You want to play pro ball?
That's my goal, yeah.
Of course. So if you get your opportunity, that's the first thing. I mean, listen, nobody can begrudge you on that, because I mean, we all come to college. Hey, we want to get a degree. We want to go to class and do all that. But let's be honest, we all want to be pro athletes.
For sure.
And you're one of the very few that has that chance. So going into the draft, Tulane has had so many guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, people don't realize that around the country. So many guys, and I'm even talking the NFL as well, but in pro baseball, they've had many over the years that have been minors and some guys to the majors. But was that one of your impetus to come to Tulane, knowing that they could put you in to the higher level?
I mean, yeah, my whole goal is to go to college and then, you know, hopefully get the opportunity to play pro ball.
What are you studying right now?
Business management.
After your playing career, I don't ask this very often, but you look like a guy who could do probably anything you want to do. Have you had any thoughts about, you know, when you finish playing?
No, I mean, not thoughts. I'm for sure going to get my degree, though. That's one thing I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
And then kind of, I guess, just take it from there. I just want to play baseball as long as I can, and then figure something out.
So going into this season, kind of give me, like, as if you were the coach, give me a preview of what your team's like right now.
Yeah.
You know, your strengths and you know, things you need to work on.
So I would start by saying that we got a whole new team, right? A lot of new players. We're all bought in, I guess.
28 new players?
Yeah, I mean, there's
28 new players.
Yep.
That's crazy. Okay.
And I guess the cool thing is that, like, we have 28 new players, but it doesn't feel like everyone's new. It feels like we've been together for
well, you have
year
that big
plus.
First baseman stick, right? Is
Brady? Yep.
Yeah.
He's still there.
So how many of the guys returning in the nucleus last year? I mean, just about. I mean, number. You don't have to give me a
8, 10, somewhere around there.
You still got a group that won that tournament coming out of the season. So Jay Elman's got that 1 year under his belt. I mean, what has been his mantra to you guys going into the season? The season's like, what, 2-3 weeks away?
Yeah, it's 17 days, I think. Exactly.
Is it 17 days?
Yep.
Y'all doing the countdown?
Yep.
What are your thoughts going into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of told myself that I think everyone's gonna ask you how are y'all doing? How do y'all think you're gonna do this year? Like, I think I've stuck with proving ourselves right. That's kind of my biggest thing. Not going out there trying to prove anyone else. Let's prove ourselves right, and then kind of go from there. Like, let's prove that we're a good team. Let's go out there, compete, play hard.
All right, before you leave, I gotta get more cultural question for you. What's your take on boiled crawfish? Before you got to Tulane, and then since now after you've been there almost 3 years.
I mean, that's my favorite food.
Is it your favorite food?
I mean,
okay, we're gonna be friends for a long time, because I've said this since I was 6. If I die tomorrow, and you know I'm dying, I want 10 pounds of boiled crawfish. Now, have you always eaten it?
Yeah, I mean, I've eaten it growing up.
Okay, you had it growing up. Is there any Louisiana connection with your family?
Not that I know of, no.
So y'all have crawfish in West Texas on the regular?
I mean, yeah, you gotta get it you gotta order it though. Like, it's not like here you can go get it, but yeah, I mean, we eat it probably every other weekend.
Do you? That's pretty cool. I know Atlanta, but we have a lot of New Orleans people. We would get it brought in a good bit too, but I didn't know out there. Hey, what other foods do you really love since you've been here, and what others like, hey, I've tried it, I don't want to do it anymore? Like raw oysters, how about that?
Oh, char-grilled oysters.
Char-grilled?
I didn't try those, and then I finally got here, and they're probably one of my top foods.
Everybody loves those, yeah.
Po' boys, not a big fan of those.
Not a big fan of po' boys?
Not a big fan.
You're trying to stay in shape, I get it. I know, I came back, I ate po' boy every single day for lunch. I gained 40 pounds within a year. That's a fact. Don't do that if you're trying to lose weight. All right. So no. What's you don't like any flavor of po' boy? Not fried?
No, I mean I don't like the bread on. I'd rather eat the meat. And
you're
then
healthy. Look at you. This
and
is
then,
healthy. No, that's good. You're healthy. No, I hear you. I gotta have the bread too, and that's why I look like I look, and you look like you look. No, but the fact is there anything at jambalaya, etouffee? You got any of those?
Yeah, I mean jambalaya is.
You love that too?
Yeah, it's fire. That's pretty good.
All right, man. I can't wait to watch Tulane baseball this season. I'm a big fan of all the local sports. UNO, Tulane, of course, LSU up the river. But it's so good to meet you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
You look like a stud in the uniform, I'll tell you. I remember seeing you come out in the field and like, this dude looks like a professional baseball player, and I hope that's where your future lies.
Yes, sir.
I've got gifts here. First, we do something on the show. We sign helmet, and since I don't have my gold pin, can't sign that baseball helmet. We're going to find you a spot on this football helmet. It's mostly football players, but I got a few baseball as well.
That works.
So if you can find a spot, maybe there, because your name's short.
Yeah,
that'd be perfect. I can see that. T.O. Banks, everybody. We also give other gifts. A guy that is a Tulane graduate started this company. I'm guessing you may have heard of Task Performance by now?
Yep.
Okay. So Task here, I'll take that. Appreciate you. So Task, we've been giving shirts out on this show since we started 8 years ago. And here you go, Task Performance there.
Nice.
And we also, on campus, or at least 5 blocks from campus, is a restaurant called Shays de la Shays. And it is literally right down on Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway. So enjoy that as well.
It's nice.
And enjoy yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
T.O. Banks, the Conference Player of the Year in the American Athletic Conference. And that is a great baseball conference, by the way. So get out and watch the Green Wave. Go support all the local teams. We're going to have next week, we're going to have Blake Dean from UNO, the head coach, Jay Ullman, the head coach from Tulane, and national champion, defending national champion, and coach of the year nationally, Jay Johnson's coming down as well. So don't miss that baseball extravaganza. But next, we're going hoops, baby. We're going to talk to John Brady, who's probably been on this show more than anybody else, but it's been a long time. It's been the longest gap since we started that he had been here. He's big timing me now, going up to Baton Rouge too much. But John Brady, the former Final Four LSU coach, is joining us along with Brock Kantrow, who is the athletic director at Baton Rouge Community College up there. And they're doing fantastic things. Can't wait to talk to those two next, right here on Primetime Sports.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Max Durbus Realtors has been providing commercial and industrial real estate services to its clients for nearly 100 years. Since 1934, Max Durbus has been locally owned and operated throughout the greater New Orleans area, including the North Shore, Hammond, and even the Mississippi Gulf Coast and beyond. We focus on your commercial real estate needs so you don't have to. More information is available at 504-733-4555.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, want to thank T.O. for coming. T.O. Banks, the Conference Player of the Year. But we're moving on to hoops. We got a couple levels here. You remember John Brady? He coached the LSU Final Four team in 2006. And who could forget that 2000 team with Stromile Swift in only his third or fourth season? That was another team that got to the Sweet 16. One of my favorite of all time. But you know what he's doing now? He's calling the games with Chris Blair. And the Tigers got a good start in the SEC. They started off 3-1. They've hit a little skid right here. A couple close losses, and one that got away against Alabama this weekend. But we also have a guy named Brock Kantrow who's very close to the LSU program as well. And he is now doing big things, and I mean big things, at Baton Rouge Community College up there in BR. And he's hired John as a basketball consultant. That's one of the reasons we brought John and him together. And the other, we're going to talk some LSU as well. Brock is close with Dale Brown, as is John. And obviously that's the legendary coach that coached before John at LSU. But welcome, guys. It is so good to have you back. Where have you been, by the way?
Been a minute, man.
It's been over a year, I think.
You're getting high-level guests now. I'm glad you invited me back.
It's my fault. I've been keeping up his time, bro.
You keeping him busy up in Baton Rouge?
Yes, sir.
So he's got a second job, is what I'm hearing?
Oh, absolutely. He's all in. The other day I walked in the gym, he was serving hot dogs, so it's pretty fun.
John serving hot dogs. Okay, I'm coming up to watch that.
Got to feed the players, you know.
Man, this is great. This is great, John. We're going to get in LSU in a second. Let's talk about what's going on here, because you retired. I remember when you retired 2016 because you were on the show right there, and you've been doing that for quite a bit since then. But then you started calling the games not long after. But I know you're busy. You're active. You like getting around. So what prompted this to get back in a little bit? You know, putting your toe in the water with my man Brock Kantrow at Baton Rouge Community College.
Well, I did it because of him.
Right.
You know, if in somebody else, I probably wouldn't have decided to do it. But he wanted me to come over there, and I helped the coach. Byron does a great job coaching it. And I've enjoyed the players. You know, I don't hear the word NIL or I want to go to the NBA.
They transfer right away.
It's some guys who really,
on the bench?
who really want to play and want to be coached. And it's been good. It's been really good.
It brings you back to your grassroots, huh? I mean, it's in your blood?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Okay. Well, tell me how this relationship started with you two.
I should have hired him 25 years ago.
That's right.
That was the first. That's when I did make a mistake there. If I'd have hired him 25 years ago, I'd have been better off. But sometimes you don't know till later down the road.
Well, he ended up hiring you. So
there you go.
Right.
It all comes full circle. That's what I tell everybody.
How'd you know each other, though?
Just basketball. Growing up in Baton Rouge, I've been an LSU guy through and through my entire life. My life's goal was to coach basketball at LSU. Didn't get there, but on the flip side, I got a Final Four coach working with me at BRC, so that's a pretty good second place.
And you're great friends with Dale Brown. He thinks the world of you. How'd that relationship blossom?
I've known Dale since I was 7 years old. I went to his camps, and I was a goofy pink glasses kid, and he kind of looked at me, probably felt sorry for me.
Pink glasses?
Yes, sir.
So you had pink. That's actually hip.
Yeah.
All right.
It wasn't hip back then. Let me tell you, for real.
Those are pink glasses right there. I was a pink glasses guy. Like, that's a subgroup I've never heard of. All right, I was one of those pink glasses guys. Well, you're a subgroup of one because I've never heard it. But all right, that's a good picture of you and Dale right there.
Man,
look at Dale looking all.
Such good times, man. He's been Dale has been. I tell people all the time, you can measure a coach by how he affects his players and everybody around him. And Dale Brown in the end of the game is going to be one of the most remembered coaches at LSU because of what he did for people.
Well, and I agree with you there. And there you are with Dale's daughter, Robin, who I've known forever. He's married to a guy I went to high school with, ironically.
Yep.
And then that's the great Chris Jackson. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, to me, still the greatest college player that I saw in my lifetime, meaning just the most electric. But tell me about that friendship as well, bro.
I got to know Mahmoud about 15 years ago. I caught him out the blue. I was doing a little a program at Baton Rouge where I brought former LSU Tigers back to mentor some kids and have a one-day camp at the Sportsplex. And from then on, we just remained in contact. I mean, I call him every day, every week. Every time I hang up the phone, I say I love you, and he says I love you. And I tell you, in today's world, it is. In today's world, I'm Jewish, and he is comes from where he comes, and we still love each other. And to me, that just shows how people are more important than everything else is going on.
It's interesting. He is definitely into Islam because I was doing games with the Hawks and in TNT for years, and I knew him a little bit. I was in law school when he was playing, and I knew him as Chris, and when he got into the league, and then all of a sudden when he changed his name, I wasn't even thinking he had changed his name. I just saw him before a game. I'm on the court like we do, rambling around while they're warming up. I'm like, "What's up, Chris?"
Right.
And he just kind of looked right over my head. I'll never forget that moment. I'm like, did I say something wrong?
Right.
And then somebody said he doesn't answer to Chris ever anymore. So no. I mean, he was a little more militant at that point.
And he's mellowed since then.
By the way, one last thing on Chris.
Yep.
When he came back for the 3-on-3 with the older guys, and he was the oldest of the older guys, and he just demolished everybody. It reminded everybody that this guy was Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
He was 50 years old when he was doing that.
He was 50.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this. Phil Jackson got pulverized when he said Steph Curry's basically Chris Jackson.
Right.
And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Because they didn't see the real Chris Jackson in the NBA. The guy was the third pick of the draft for a reason.
Yep.
And he lost a ton of weight, doing Ramadan and all that, because he was Muslim, and he stuck to he adhered to the principles of Islam. So point being is, that showed everybody a little glimpse of what he really was. Because if you, in college, he was that dude.
Oh, he was unbelievable.
Yeah. Let's talk about this team real quick. I'm going to get back because what's going on at BRCC is phenomenal. I don't mean the country club, talk about the community college, but John, this LSU team right here, you know, they have their ups and downs. So listen, they could easily have won a couple of these last 3 games. They lost in a row. Alabama, that got away. Let's not. But the other 2 were kind of heartbreakers, right? Yeah. Georgia, we all saw what happened at the end of the game there. That was a spectacular finish. Both teams gave it all they had. One team got a game-winning shot, and then the other team got their game-winning shot, and that was Georgia. And LSU almost got the last one. And then the one before, Texas A&M, not quite as close, but still close all the way to the end. Right. When you look at this team, they started 3-1 in conference, and now they're, I guess, 3-4. I'm imagining
3-4, 3-3,
3-4, 3-4. So my point being here, they could have been 4-1 if they had beaten A&M. But last year they got that first win, and then they lost 13 in a row in conference. What do you see now that they didn't have last year that they have now?
Well, our guard plays better. We're able to score the ball in the perimeter. What we don't have, we don't rebound it very well, and we don't have much inside presence, and we still don't have somebody who can protect the goal. So I think that's our biggest issue. We've lost a couple of close games, but the team got down big at Auburn, came back and made a game of it.
They did. That impressed me.
We've done some things that showed some character and toughness of the team, but there's so much pressure on our guards to score, our perimeter players to score, because we haven't had a lot of guys around the basket do some things that are necessary for good teams to have. That's why this game against Arkansas Saturday, we're off Wednesday this week. We play Arkansas Saturday, and they're the most disappointing team in the leagues. They're going to limp in at like 1-5. Yeah. So it's a must game for LSU because what lies ahead is really difficult coming up. So that game Saturday for LSU will be an important one.
That's a home game?
Yes, it's at home. 11 o'clock
LSU
start.
Has a rare midweek off. They're not playing during the week. They play at the weekend. But I got to ask you, because they've had a couple additions. I'm going to start with the guy that most people down here know because he played for Tulane a couple of years, Jalen Cook, who's a little bit of an enigma. Phenomenal player. He certainly made them a better team. He had 2 really good years at Tulane, but there were some whispers that he might not be worth the trouble. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not trying to get into that. I'm trying to get what he does for LSU on the basketball court. What are the things that makes him special as an LSU Tiger?
Well, when he's right, he's probably one of the top 5 guards in the SEC, in my opinion.
I agree.
He needs to defend better, and he needs to know time and score when he needs to break off on his own and do what he's supposed to do. Those are shortcomings in his game right now. Sometimes he tries to do a little bit too much. But he's, of the guards that I've coached and guards I've seen, he's one of the best at handling a screen and roll. He can really play off the screen and roll. In today's game, hell, that's 80-85% of the offense. So he needs to defend better. Then he needs to learn when to and when not to go off in his own and try to make a play.
So for people, if you don't remember this, Jalen Cook was on LSU's team. I believe that was the Javonte Smart era. And then he came down, got a fresh start at Tulane under Ron Hunter. And Tulane did some great things. We saw a lot of those games last year. And then now he's come back and he couldn't play right in the beginning of the season. They had some NCAA, whatever the NCAA means anymore, some violation about, hey, we can't come back. But now that he's been in, it's been a nice spark. But the guy that's playing next to him, Jordan Wright, you know, who I think has been a huge addition. I mean, on and off the court. I mean, he played at Dunham High School. Obviously, we know that has become a little bit of a power at that time. Went to Vanderbilt, had a good career. And he came back for his last eligible season, came to LSU. Talk about what he means to the team and what he does well, because I'm impressed with this young man.
Well, how about this one? We're at Texas. We're playing Texas in Houston. Yeah. We almost beat them there. Jordan Wright, the second half, had 30 points. 30 points. Now, I told him after the game that may be one of the best halftime performances I've ever seen in an LSU player. Those are Maravich numbers. Yeah. You get 30 and a half. So
30 and a half.
And a half.
That's Chris Jackson.
Wound up with 32. Had 2 the first half, had 30 the second half. Never seen anything like it. So he's our best player by far, and there's a lot of pressure on him to get 16, 17
He's wearing Julius Erving's number 2, number 6, right? Well,
he's also our second leading rebounder at 6'4", 6'4 and a half. And he's a quality guy. He graduated from Vanderbilt. He's come back home to Baton Rouge, play his last year, and he's, without question, our best player on the team.
And I have the most picks of him, too. There he is right there. He was the SC Player of the Week earlier. I just like what he provides. That Ole Miss game, then that game right there, Ole Miss came in at 15-1 to the PMAC, and LSU gave it to him. And this guy can shoot. He can obviously get up, what you see there. I don't want to get off him yet because I just like what he brings to this team. It's only a one-year thing. We get it. But this team needed that kind of leadership, in my opinion, and I think he's providing it.
Well, that's part of what the portal is good for.
Yeah.
The portal can be a great addition for your team. In this particular case, they hit on this guy because his leadership, his experience, he's coming home, he wants to do well. And this past week, they just retired his jersey at his high school, at Dunham High School.
Yeah, my nephews went to Dunham. I'm all about that school. Great school. Hey, the rest of the squad, you got the freshman, James Williams. I just want a little blurb on what you think about
Williams
these guys.
has gotten better. He's improved. Jalen Cook he's really more comfortable now playing off the ball more because of the addition of Jalen Cook. They were trying to make him a point guard early. He can play the point, but he's much more comfortable off the ball. And the reason I say that is because his turnovers are down and his shooting percentage has gone up. But you know, Reed on the inside, Will Baker on the inside, we just hadn't gotten out of them what they anticipated. Hopefully during the course of the rest of the year, they'll get better.
Yeah, Jalen Reed, Will Baker, I mean, and Tyrell Ward, that's another guy that produces sometimes.
And Fountain, I like Fountain.
Derek Fountain.
He's not starting right now. Derek comes off the bench and does a nice job. I like the things he's doing. And what I like about him is in this day and age when there's NIL and people getting paid or whatever the case is, he has the same attitude every day, whether he starts or he doesn't start. And I think in today's game, that's a real positive trait to have as a player.
Matt McMahon had so much success. Obviously, we saw what he did at Murray State. He's had a couple runs in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, he coached John Morant, correct?
Yeah. Oh, my.
One of the best in the NBA when he's healthy and not in trouble. But Matt McMahon, now in his second season, he like yourself, he had a mountain to climb when he took over this team. You took over in 96, 97, or 97, 98, one of those years.
Yeah.
And the cupboard was bare. We all know that. And I hope LSU fans realize that this guy took over a program that really had nothing, because he kind of had to start it all over because a lot of guys left that Will Wade had, and a lot of them went to play professionally.
Yeah, and coupled with that, what makes it more challenging, you start like that with not much. You bring in some guys. Then the next year, 7 of those guys leave.
It's like a fantasy
team. Then you bring in some more, and if that doesn't work, you have 6 or 7 more leave, and it's just a spiraling sort of situation. And you better hit in the transfer portal if that's the direction you're going, because if you miss a couple years there and you have 6 or 7 players leave every year, I don't see how you build a team.
Well, we all know in the NCAA tournament, if you're doing a bracket, you look for teams that have been together 3+ years. That's how basketball is.
Yep.
You play together, you learn each other's tendencies, and you become better.
Well, here's an example of that. South Carolina was picked dead last, unanimously dead last in the league right now.
Yeah.
They're 17-3. They're second in the league because they hit on every transfer portal player they brought in has lived up to what they're supposed to be. So it's hard to predict who's good and who's not good in preseason because you don't know really what teams have now.
It's truly a crapshoot.
Yeah, it's something else.
I hope Will has this. I blatantly ripped off SportsCenter last night because I saw a graphic, and I want to ask you this question.
Okay.
This year, for whatever reason, this right here, this is AP top 10s on the road versus unranked teams. Now, you look at the last 2 seasons, identical percentage. They win 75% of the time. Now, you go on the road's never easy, right? We know that.
Right.
But these are unranked opponents, and there's a lot of really good unranked opponents. We get that. But it's so drastically different that they already have way many losses halfway through the season than they have in the previous year's full season. So, what do you think is the reason for this, John?
Same thing we just talked about.
The portal.
The portal, transfer portal, players leaving, and I think it may be more predictable that sort of thing is going to happen now because double transfers, you can leave every year and go anywhere you want as it stands right now with no penalty of transfer.
You can go to 4 colleges if you want.
Yeah, you go play every year. I don't like this. I don't like the way this guy looks. I'm going to go over here and play for this. Well, I don't like him, so I'm going to go over here.
I don't like the way this guy looks.
You have to, at some point, say there may be something wrong with this young man if he's transferred 3 different times in 3 years. I mean, it's not always the other person's fault. Sometimes you've got to look within yourself and say, maybe I might need to change the way I approach things.
Maybe that's it. Sometimes it might not be a fit. Like here, I'll give you an example of a guy that probably did the right thing for himself, although it looks bad. The quarterback that played at Rice this year he started as the #1 player in the country coming out of high school, went to USC, who had like 3 quarterbacks. He got beat out. So he goes to Georgia, and he starts for a little bit, and he gets beat out there. So he goes to West Virginia, plays a full season, has a good year. And then he's like, the situation's not great. So he went to Rice, where they had a wide open offense, and he tossed the ball around, and I'm sure he'll be drafted. That's a guy that looked out kind of like for what he needed.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't going to play here. He was certainly going to play at Georgia. He got beat out by the walk-on Stetson, but they won a national championship. What could he say? And then he has a good year at West Virginia, but he might not like the offense, so he goes to where they can show him passing. So would you be totally against a guy that's just doing something like that to help himself out? And he's also helping out the teams he's with in general.
Well, I can live with that, but I don't. And that, if he a one-time transfer, I got it. But to have the freedom to transfer and come and go, I'm a coach. I feel bad for the coaches running the program.
Yes, you do.
You know, so I'm a supporter of the coach, and it makes it more difficult. Another headache for a guy to worry about, having to don't know who's coming back and who's leaving, and you're all summer recruiting maybe the players you have there to come back. Then when they do leave, you have a short window to get on the portal to find out who you're going to bring in. Okay. So I just think it makes it more difficult. There are exceptions to every rule, and I'm sure you can find some other feel-good stories there too. But I think there are going to be much more disappointments than there are good things that come out of transferring with no penalty anytime you want.
Brock, I want to talk about the Baton Rouge Community College. The facility.
Did you know he was an assistant for Perry Clark at Tulane in Perry's heyday? In
his heyday back in the when they brought the program back?
I was there right after that. I came in 2001 with Byron Mouton and that.
Oh yes,
right
yes.
There. Yep.
Was 2001?
Yeah.
Oh, Perry was still around 2001.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I just remember the early days. Kim Lewis.
Yeah, Kim was an assistant with me.
Williams,
Yep.
all those guys. Anthony Reed.
Yep.
Yeah, that squad. So basketball's been in your blood. I know that. You were Tiger Tot. You were dribbling around the Superdome when they came down. I remember that, because I was always hanging out there doing hot shot. Show us what you got. But the fact is I saw your facilities, and I want you to talk about that, because you guys are doing great things. You're a program on the rise for sure. I've seen this as and talk about your conference. You play in Delgado here. This is like look at this locker room.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is a locker room. Talk about that, and talk about your game tomorrow, because I'm going to go. John, I'm going with you tomorrow. We're going to go watch the team play Delgado, and I can't wait. So, Brock, you have the floor.
Yeah, it's when I took the job, all I kept hearing was this is a gold mine waiting to happen, and the school's been there for 15 years. At some point in time, you have to make it a gold mine. You can't keep talking about it being a gold mine. And the things that need to happen for that is you have to have facilities.
Yeah.
You have to have scholarship dollars for student athletes. They got to be able to eat, sleep, and put clothes on their body, and toothbrush, and underwear. All these things that people think that that automatically come at the junior college level. That's not really the case. So we have to provide those things to get the kind of athletes there that can take the program to the next level. There is no NIL money. I mean, we feed them.
Grassroots, baby.
Yeah, we feed them any way we can. We take care of them any way we can. But if you show them that they're important, and you show them that the facilities mean they're important, then they take pride in what they're doing, right? Instead of walking to a dumpy locker room and a crappy gym. And so what we're trying to do is tell them how important they are to us.
That is, okay. When Mark Cuban took over the Dallas Mavericks, I was knee-deep in doing games at that point, and he was the first guy to realize that in the NBA. They're just so antiquated thinking. Like, he put things in their locker room, which are commonplace now, but they all had the beats with, sitting in the recliners that were super cushioned, and everybody else had wood still.
Right.
And I'm like, this guy, all of a sudden free agents started flocking to Dallas. They're like, one guy on the team says, this is pretty cool. This guy takes care of us. And that's what it's about, making them feel good, making them feel important. And I think you guys are doing that. You're hiring great people. John Brady on the basketball. I know Paul Maneri
is
consulting on baseball a little bit. And he is obviously a national championship coach. So you're doing good things, and I'm happy for you, man.
I'm happy to be there. I appreciate it.
And Dale Brown is all of our mutual friends. So we're going to give Dale a big hi. What's up, Dale? How you doing, buddy?
Love you, Coach.
Coaches dropped by. Coach Brown's come by.
I know. He's the best. I love him. So John, you look black. It looks good in black. It's slimming.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm wearing for.
And then this is navy. This is task performance.
Beautiful.
I love navy. I'm colorblind, so I wear khaki pants all the time. So navy goes really well with khaki.
Put your socks up, because obviously he's definitely colorblind. He's got watermelons there, and he's got broccoli there.
Yes.
And this man don't see color. Sometimes I wish I was filming a while.
Look, I'm going to return the favor for you with the BRCC hat. Now, it's BRCC meaning Baton Rouge Community College.
It's the country club? Oh, no, I'm wearing this right now. Trucker hat, y'all. I love it. I look better in red than I thought. Okay, I'll take it. Hey, by the way, John's not getting this. Hey, Desi, I'm not giving this to John Brady. This is going to Brock. Carry on. Let's go to Brock. Brock Kantrow, Mr. John Steakhouse. That's Desi Vegas.
I'm going to come with y'all.
Please do. Dude. Well, no. Okay, John's going to be like, no gift certificates at my table. John's a coach. You don't let us use gift certificates.
America's guest.
I'm not scared to use a gift certificate, okay? I didn't make $8 million like this dude over here.
Oh, yeah, that's what I got.
80 million, whatever it was. All right, guys, that's a basketball portion of your show. Thanks for coming, y'all.
Always a pleasure, baby. Appreciate it.
All right, hey, come out tomorrow. I'm going to Delgado. You'll see the great John Brady get a technical during the game, just like the good old days. You know what I'm saying? So hey, we're gonna go to the tennis part of our show. This is 2 weeks in a row I'm doing tennis. This is it first. So we have Welsh Hotard, who came on literally 19 months ago, the day after he transferred from Oklahoma to come home to go to LSU, and now he's one of the top players on this LSU tennis team that's doing great things. They started out big weekends. They beat UNO, and they beat Louisiana Lafayette pretty easily, 7-0, 7-0. Had a great weekend against Louisville this past week, beat them, and they had a tough one against South Carolina, so they want to get that taste out of their mouth. But Welsh Hotard's coming right here on Primetime Sports. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Primetime Sports, and for the second straight week, we're focusing on tennis. That's right. We're going up the river to LSU to a guest that we had 17 months ago. That's right. Welsh Hotard was at Oklahoma. He was a Sooner, but he's a New Orleans kid, so he came back home to LSU. He's a lifelong LSU fan, and now he's one of their best tennis players. And in his second year at LSU, what are you now, Welsh? You're a junior or a senior?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior. Welcome to the show again, man.
Yes, sir.
It's been 17 months. How you been?
Good, really good.
What's the transition been like? I want to hear about that.
It's been great. I've loved it. Obviously, it's different going from wind and like
Oklahoma.
Yeah, cold to
known for dust storms and stuff.
Yeah,
right.
To now sunny every day, always warm. But I've loved every second of it.
So, okay, as a kid that grew up, I know your dad and your mom. I was actually at LSU with both of them. I'm right in between them both, so I knew them both well separately. And you know, you had to grow up an LSU fan. So, talk about that as a kid, loving LSU sports and going up there.
I mean, I've loved LSU for however long. Both my siblings played tennis there. Cousins played other sports there, and grandparents went there, and my parents went there, so I've loved it. You got some lineage. Yeah. Yes,
and you got both sides of the state. I know your mom's from Shreveport, right?
She is.
And your dad's from New Orleans.
She is.
Let me say this. Your name, I was living in Atlanta for a long time, and I've lived around the country, but Atlanta certainly last before I moved back a decade ago. But you were a kid that I always heard, you know, you hear about your friends' kids and what they're doing. Tennis was always your thing.
Yes, sir.
And you grew up as a tennis kid. And I know we got into that a lot last year, so I'm not going to dwell on it. But talk about it again, so people that haven't seen that last show. When did you put a racket in your hand, and did you know you were going to do this for the rest of your life, or at least for the next 25 years?
I probably put a racket in my hand when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I kind of knew that I really wanted to pursue tennis when I got like to 10, 11. I started playing a lot more tournaments and doing well. So I was still playing baseball at the time.
Yeah.
Traveling for that as well. So I was kind of doing both, but since both my older siblings played tennis,
Hobie, I know Hobie, and which is your sister too?
Yeah, Lizzie.
Lizzie, okay. Yeah, I knew Hobie when he was at LSU.
Yes, sir.
So tell me this: you didn't go to high school here, did you? Didn't you go somewhere?
I went to Jesuit for 1 year in 8th grade,
Right.
and then I transferred to doing online school for tennis, so I could travel so much.
Right.
And I went to Dallas, Texas.
Now I know a couple other people. Is that a common thing for great tennis players young to just go somewhere else, like IMG used to be in the day when they go to Florida? Is that where they do what they do now instead of going to high school generally?
Most of the time.
Right.
Yes, sir. Because we travel so much. If it's internationally, nationally, like guys, we just don't have enough time to go to school and get out of school early, miss 2 weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time. So a lot of people do online school.
What's the difference between going to college in Oklahoma, your first 2 years, which is a great university, by the way. I do a lot of games on the weekends for Fox, and that's in our conference. So I've been to Norman many times, and I love that campus. But going to school there, and then your last almost 2 years being at LSU, as far as being in a university. And going out, that's the main thing. All right, I'm not care about the classes. Okay? All right.
They're both, great schools, big schools. LSU, it's in Baton Rouge, so it's more of a city vibe. OU, everything is kind of based off the school because it's in Norman, kind of smaller place.
Right. OKC's not far though, Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's not too far,
Right.
but I didn't really go to OKC that much. But so far I've loved LSU, and I loved OU too. But it's just kind of a different vibe being at home, playing for the school I've loved my whole life.
It's very different. You're right.
Yeah.
I was just at OU for my second to last game Thanksgiving weekend, and I forgot it is a small town, but it's a great campus. I love it. Hey, but as far as being an LSU Tiger tennis player, last year you guys got to the NCAA tournament. I don't know if more is expected this season. I had Mark Boris on last week. He told me all about you growing up. He said you're great. But how about this? I love this shot. You're right in the middle of the media yacht. Now that's something I would frame for the rest of my life. You'll probably just throw it in a drawer. But no, that had to make you feel good though, right?
Oh, it did for sure.
Yeah.
It did for sure. And all those guys are seniors. There's 5 of us. And obviously that made me feel really good being a hometown kid and everything.
Exactly, man.
But
is it like the old days? Like when I was there, ironically, I used to live right across the street before they put that nice building there. It was an old rundown kind of apartment thing because I got there late. I was going to go to another college and I decided to go to LSU at the last second. It's horrible, but it's right across from the tennis courts. And I just remember going to watch practice a lot, and at least back then, it was Jerry Simmons, I believe, was the coach. It seemed like 80% of the team was foreign. Is that still the case these days?
a lot of teams foreign. There's probably half. It's like half and half.
Yeah, Tulane's the same, half and half.
I think there's 5 Americans and then 6 foreigners.
So for those of us that don't know, and I'm learning myself, and I'm going to start going with your dad to some of your matches. I promise you, I can't wait. I love tennis.
We also.
But there's the thing. That's a line. That's a typical lineup for singles on a weekend when you play an opponent. And I think I'd like you to explain this to people that might not know how college tennis works, where you have 6 singles matches, right, and then 3 doubles.
So we start off with the 3 doubles, and each team plays the other team, of course.
Right.
And if you win 2 out of those 3 doubles, it's a point. And then the singles is each match is another point. So it's kind of best of 4 points.
So is there a strategy on where they put because the ones play the ones, right? And so your record could be misleading on your talent in a lot of ways, because if you're always playing 6 instead of 1, you're not playing their best. Or how does that work? Do they always put it that way? I'm just curious as a fan. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, they do that most of the time. You can obviously, there's a thing like stacking where they might put someone there, and if they win, they win. If they lose, they lose. But that's basically how it goes the whole time. Like the lineups are kind of straight up. and a lot of guys do better at certain spots. And if someone's doing really well at one spot, you can get challenged, which is.
What does that mean?
Basically means that if you're doing really well and then the guy in front of you is not doing as well.
So it's like you're sandbagging or something?
Yeah, the coach can challenge you and you can get switched. Like the lineup can technically be switched.
That's interesting. Okay, so here's my next question, because then I know in like basketball, some guys don't like coming off the bench, although they're valuable, right? And in other sports, maybe a hitter will be offended if he's dropping to 6th or 7th in the lineup instead of 2nd or 3rd. What is it like in tennis? Do y'all care? I mean, and be honest with me, is there an ego thing? Maybe, hey, I want to be the guy playing one, or do you not care?
For me personally, no, I don't really care too much. I want the team to do as well as possible.
Right.
Obviously, I love to play, but everyone on the team has a role, even if you're not playing, because college tennis is a little different than something at like Wimbledon. Like, people get feisty, you can get kind of riled up and stuff. So.
So they keep you in check in college? I'm curious what you mean by that statement.
Yeah, not really. Kind of. Like, you can't say certain things, of course, but like you can scream and get like.
I mean, it's an emotional,
as rowdy as possible.
You get emotional in tennis. I mean, I grew up loving McEnroe. I mean, he's and he was emotional. I dug it. It means he cared about what he was doing.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so even the guys on the bench, when they have a lot of energy, like, that's awesome. Like, I can definitely feel it on the court, and I know the other guys can as well. So everyone really plays a good role.
Now, what era of tennis did you, like? Who was your favorite growing up of someone playing professionally, and then who were some of the ones from, our era or before that you've heard of that you like? You like their style?
Obviously, I love Federer. He was always top in the world.
You came up during a good era right there.
Yeah.
Nadal, Federer, obviously now Djokovic. Yeah.
Very good, but I love Federer. He's always been really good. Djokovic they played two different kind of game styles.
Two phenomenal,
yeah,
right?
They're both
and
awesome.
Nadal completely different as well.
For sure.
I mean, this is a great era. Although John, the dad, sitting over there, and I mean, we grew up with Borg, McEnroe, Connors, and then the next era was like, and then we had Yvonne Lendl and Boris Becker. I mean, I love tennis. And then Andre Agassi was in there, and Jim Kerr. But there were so many different phases of tennis. Americans used to be pretty pivotal in the world scene. They're not as much anymore. And I look at this, I want your opinion, because in a lot of other countries, obviously, it's first, second, or third major sport.
Yeah.
Here, it's probably 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe 4th in some areas, but there's nobody's going to top football, basketball, baseball. So the lot better athletes might play other sports. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, we have football, baseball, and basketball here. A lot of people go and play those sports, and not really as much tennis. And in foreign countries, they do. Like, it's soccer, tennis, and there's a few other sports as well. But I think American tennis is getting a lot better lately. There's a lot of new guys coming up that have done really well and are starting to kind of get into the top 100, top 50 in the world. So we're kind of starting to do more of a rise now than we had in the past.
We only have like a minute and a half, but I want to ask you a question about your team now. How can a person that they love tennis, but they don't know what to do to go find y'all where you play, can you help them out? Like Tulane plays, for instance, this is one. For New Orleans people, I'm looking at right now. Tulane's going up to Baton Rouge on February 7th. That's a Wednesday. And I'm looking at that day as a day I might go up as well. So where do y'all play? Right on campus, right? In that same...
Yeah, it's a little bit off campus. It's right next to the baseball stadium. Right. And we play...
Oh, that's where they're playing over there now? Oh,
yes,
okay.
We have 18 courts, 6 indoor, 12 outdoor. We play almost every weekend, Fridays, Sundays, Saturdays. But yeah, you can go on our Instagram on LSU Tennis, see the schedule, or just look up LSU Tennis online, and you can see the schedule. And but yeah, we play all the time.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Welsh, Hotard, I'm looking forward to following you this season.
Sir.
Is this your final one, or you got another one because of COVID?
Final one.
Okay, so this is it.
Yes, sir.
Let's take it all the way. Let's go. So the SEC obviously coming up, and then obviously after that, you got the NCAA tournament.
Yes, sir.
If when you come back in town, there's 2 gift certificates
Thank
there.
you so
can
much.
Combine them together. The Shays de la Shays on Maple. between Carrollton and Broadway. And get over to Mr. John's Steakhouse, too. They do us right, as well as Crescent City Steakhouse. But here you go. This is a shirt. I've only given away 6 of them. Billy Shell has a company called NOLA Shirts, and this is a Tash shirt, and I love it. It's the softest shirt you'll ever have.
That's awesome.
And that
Thank
is
you
for
so
you,
much.
brother.
Thank you so much.
Good luck the rest of your way, man.
Thank you.
And hi, Charmaine and John. Hope y'all doing well as well. I got to go. I'm running out of time, so I want to thank everybody that works on this show. We'll see you again next week for the baseball extravaganza. Jay Johnson, the head coach at LSU, Jay Oman, the head coach at Tulane, and, of course, Blake Dean at UNO, right here on Primetime Sports.